hear your superpower. What would it be? I think if I could choose, I don't know, there were some good ones. I don't want to steal Mo's, but I'll stick with, I would choose probably invisibility. Like to be invisible for a day would be super fun.
John said that he would love to fly. I don't know how I
I love
feel
that.
flying without an aircraft around me.
I know. Hi, John. John is my guy.
Teleportation. We
Sweet.
were just talking about that, Ashley. That's perfect. I think
Hmm.
teleportation would be rad.
And reading people's minds was another one that came up earlier.
Yeah, that was
I think
mine.
we're all on the same page
Yeah.
here.
I want to actually not just read their mind, but I actually want to see like the visuals for people who do see pictures in their brain. But I want to actually see what they see. I think that would be
Like their
cool.
dreams.
Yeah.
I I could see that. That would be fun. Sweet. Well, let's get going. Welcome everybody. I'm Brittni Rodriguez. I'm an implementation pilot here at LeadSimple. And I've got my good friend, colleague in the biz, Miss Kelli Segretto. So Kelli, I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Kelli Segretto from KSegretto Consulting, and I'm a property management and process solutions consultant. Get to help lots of business owners building out their processes in LeadSimple and help people to find more efficiency in their operations in their property management company. So I'm living the dream.
Tell me a little bit about your background.
20 years in property management. Started as a general contractor working with a property manager. So I've been on the vendor side too, but then transitioned into multifamily, then single family, low income housing, tax credit properties, kind of dabbled in a lot of things, and then was the director of operations for both real property management and PMI. So helped build out systems and processes and technology and tools and documents, all kinds of fun stuff.
And just fun fact, like as of like 10 minutes ago, Kelly told us that she's taking her GC
Yeah.
license. So she's
I'm
really a
getting a
jack of all
GC
trades.
license again. It'll be a blast. I like building things. I tell people that I'm endlessly curious. So I'll always be learning something and growing in one way or another. And I just think that's the way you stay young.
Love it. Sweet. Well, I'm super excited. Let's get going. We're talking all things application screening process. We're heading into the summer frenzy of the year and getting ready. So I know there's going to be lots of move-ins, move-outs, turnovers, and what comes with that is screening applications. So, what can you expect from this webinar? Here, we've got some good stuff. We're going to learn how to get ahead of leasing season, like I just said, and then learn the industry from industry experts. Sorry, like Kelli herself, the best practices and that the for the application screening process and LeadSimple and how we can help streamline that and get that going for you. So keep in mind just some little housekeeping. There is a Q&A space at the bottom. We've got some of our team members here with LeadSimple here to help answer questions. So there's a Q&A at the bottom of the screen. So go ahead and throw those in there. We're going to have a space at the end as well for Q&A. So if you want to save it for the end, we'll do some live Q&A as well. So perfect. And we'll also share out this recording for you. So all right, let's get going. So what does this look like? Kelli, let's dive right in. What does this look like? How can we help get a nice, well-defined application screening process? Where would you start in LeadSimple?
Well, what I'd say first off, just to answer that question, is without a well-defined application screening process, you have some pitfalls and some concerns that can come up. One of those being fairness. You're protecting your liability when you have a clearly defined, consistent, treat everyone exactly the same every time kind of process. And the more documented and structured that is, the more you're protecting yourself. So one of the things I love about LeadSimple is you can create that process so that all of your decision making is done in your LeadSimple process. You have different questions that you can ask that will trigger different events, and we'll show you that in just a minute here. But it's that opportunity to really make sure that that structure's in place. The other piece would be, training. You bring on a new employee into your organization, the ability to have that employee up and running as quickly as possible because they're following a streamlined checklist that can have some of those answers and why and how to's built into the process is really, really helpful in these organizations, especially if you're bringing in remote team members where it's helpful to bring in kind of the context of why we do what we do and what it is that we're doing here in the US. So
I love that. What are some key points that you're really hitting on, like as you're going out? Like where are like you want to ensure that we're either adding or you're consulting about inside of this process?
Um, really your selection criteria, your process built in LeadSimple should be a reflection of your outward facing selection criteria. So having a clear application guidelines that your potential residents have an opportunity to view and kind of self-select whether they're going to be able to be approved in your process is great, but your process then needs to reflect that. So as you're then going through and you have, you know, have to have an application for everyone 18 and older. You have to have a government issued valid photo ID. You have to have pay stubs or some form of showing what their income is. All of these kind of pieces that you're telling them you need, you're then following through on. Um, that application screening criteria is kind of a crucial piece to making sure that you know how you're going to answer the questions and you know how you're going to deal with the variables that are going to be thrown at you. So if you have a clearly defined solution, it's really easy to then put that into LeadSimple and have it be a follow along rather than having to make judgment calls based on how well you liked somebody or how you felt that day. I had a previous employer that didn't have a very structured, tight system. And so, I had the example of a day where we had two applications that had very similar struggles with the verification. And one of them I called and asked, what do you want to do with this one? And it was, well, let's increase the security deposit by $200. Okay, so we increased the security deposit. The next one that came in that was the same kind of situation, it was, well, let's double the security deposit. So now we didn't treat two people fairly. We didn't have a consistent policy. And so being able to have that kind of well-defined decision so that you're taking the emotions and the feelings and the everything else out of it and really making a structured decision is really important.
Exactly. Yeah, I love that. It goes head to head. It's also great. I know when we were kind of going through like what we each love about this process as we're like diving in, it's like the training factor. So I want to hear a little bit like how you utilize this process as a training factor for like remote team members or global employees, or team members in general of like what our policies are that you've like hit on.
I like to have a clearly defined criteria. So let's say, for example, in your application, you've got one of three roads you go down in an application. It's either going to be approved, it's going to be conditionally approved, or it's going to be denied. If you have the opportunity in your instructions panel in LeadSimple to say, denied, this is what denied means, and this is why we deny applications. Conditionally approved, this is what conditionally approved looks like. If it's conditionally approved for income, then we're going to increase the security deposit by X amount. If it's conditionally approved for this reason, then you have all of those definitions really clearly laid out for your staff. Those team members can just follow along and get more information when they need to because it's at their fingertips. They're not having to leave the screen and go somewhere else. They're not having to come up with different opportunities or ask another coworker. They're able to have that instruction and that information right there in the process. Saves a lot of
Exactly.
time.
Let's start speaking of that, I'm gonna do a quick screen share. We're gonna walk through, and I just pulled. I'm in a Sandbox account, so pulled a template here, our lease renewal process. I'm going to use our new process visualization tool in LeadSimple and just kind of take a look at what the process looks from start to finish and the different routes that it could go. Starting from like your new application received, you can see the different steps here inside of this stage and where it goes. What are some steps like on your first glance, Kelli? Let me hear from you what you think regarding this process or where you would move something, get things going. What do you like to start with in here?
So first of all, I love that you can visualize your process. It gives a lot of clarity. I work with a lot of different clients, and everybody has their own learning style. Everybody has their own way that they digest information. And this is a really helpful tool to be able to see how the different stages and the different pieces of your process come together. What I'm normally looking at when I'm diving into, so for example, I have some clients that already have LeadSimple accounts, and we're then going through and we're refreshing or adding best practices or figuring out where things are not quite as efficient as they should be. So what we're doing when we're looking at this is we're really looking at what is the decision process and where are the opportunities. You'll see at the beginning, you have that new application is received, it's coming in, and then you have a branch opportunity where it's going to either be incomplete and it's going to loop back through until we have all the information, or you have on hold, we're just waiting for a complete application. In my organizations, we've always only processed an application after we have a complete packet is what I would call it. And so you have to have
Yeah.
applications and all support materials for all applicants before we'll even start processing. So this has an opportunity in this workflow that you can kind of put it in a holding period until you have all that information and then pull it back in. And then down the middle there, you have kind of your decision tree of once we've said, hey, we have everything, everything's good to go, we now can go into our background check, we can process that application, and then we're making our decision. Are we approving them? Are we denying them? In the workflows that I typically work with, we'll have a third section. And I would actually recommend if I were working on this workflow, we add a third section for conditionally approved for people that don't
Yeah.
quite fit the exact qualifications, but fit your outskirts qualifications. Again, those outskirts qualifications need to be well defined so that you don't make those judgment calls that get you into trouble. You don't want to have fair housing complications or issues with your process. And so, you can define kind of your conditional approval as well. But this is just a beautiful
Yeah.
visualization to see those different pieces and how they fit together.
Yeah, I agree. This is one that there's a lot. I call it the beast of processes in LeadSimple is like there's a lot of ifs. I don't have a full packet. Where do we go? We have a full packet. Where do we go? They barely meet criteria. Where do we like there's a lot of decisions having to be made. So like you've been iterating is like having that policy set and knowing exactly the way to do is going to really help build out this process. But I do agree having the visualization. And if you haven't seen it, this is really cool. It's new and I'm honestly still playing with it too, but these can move around and you can flip them all over. So the new tool is super amazing. So when we are diving in on the back end of LeadSimple, and I'll just open up the settings back here. And the stages, you can see it more in a linear flow, if you will, of the process of like where we're going from start to, middle end, but you don't really get to see how it could go from new application to received to on hold. So there is that, the visualization really gives you that tool to just kind of see where it's happening and where it's going if steps aren't met. So whenever you're building out, you have like in the active stages as a conditionally approved before you're sending the lease. So it's like an extra stage that you would put in here of conditional approved before they
Yeah.
hit the send lease stage.
Yeah, I'd put it
Nice.
into the active stages because there is an opportunity for the applicant to say, no, I don't want to go with those conditions. I don't agree to increase my security deposit because I'm higher risk. And so they have the opportunity to still go to a canceled stage
Nice.
if they choose so. So yeah, I'd add that conditional approval stage into the active stages.
I love that. That's yeah, that makes sense why you would want to do that. That's a great thought. Um Sweet. So
Yeah, I think one of
we're
the
talking.
sorry, I think one of the important things, and I know that I say it a lot, but the application process is one of the places where you have the highest liability in your business. And so having really strong policies and procedures, and then taking those policies and procedures and really distilling them down to a process that you can consistently follow. If you're finding in your process that there's a step that you skip or a step that you add in, take the time, edit the process, make sure it is exactly the process that you're going to follow every single time, because that then becomes not only a great process for you to follow while you're doing it, but it also becomes documentation where you can prove in court if ever needed, hopefully never needed, but this is property management. It's not if you'll go to court, it's when. Uh, but you can prove this is how we treated everyone. This is our process. This is how we document things. This is how we make our decisions. And this is why they didn't meet our criteria. And it's that very
Yeah.
clean black and white, which is what you need in those kind of litigious situations.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. We were talking earlier, so just fun. I want to get the chat kind of going again, but we were talking earlier, one of my favorite kickoff, or I haven't done it in a while. I think I'm going to start bringing it back up, but what's the craziest thing that's happened to you in property management? Just like a quick, like, I love hearing these stories. Do like a quick 3-word, 1 sentence, in the chat. What's the craziest thing? Crazy stories. Love hearing those, as we're going, and I'll just kind of look over there. Anything else you want to show? Like, or is there something while I'm sharing my screen, or you want me to pull back up for you? We're gonna.
Yeah, I think the important thing is, and one of the most helpful parts of the application process is conditional logic, and that opportunity you have to make decisions, and for those decisions to then trigger which stage that you go to. Oh, Peter.
I know, I know. I saw that just now. I couldn't keep a straight face. That's a good one.
I will read it because it's important. Peter said that a team member once found a dead dog in a garage freezer after an eviction.
Man,
Sorry,
I
Peter.
unfortunately, someone had abandoned their dog at the property during an eviction, and they had left the dog there. That was sad.
Yeah.
Um, but
But
not in a freezer.
conditional logic is what makes those decisions and that decision tree possible. And so I think if we want to show a little bit of what that conditional logic looks like and how it's set up, that
Yeah,
would be helpful just to highlight that.
absolutely.
And you can have what a lot of people are used to is either a process that lives in their head or a process that is on a piece of paper where you're marking off, yes, I got an application. And when I used to be in multifamily, that's what we had is we had an application checklist that was literally a piece of paper just to make sure we got all of our documentation and we went through a couple of the background check stages. The nice thing about this is that now when you digitize your process, you have the opportunity to make it more fluid in how you're able
Hmm.
to utilize conditional logic. So where are we at?
Yeah, I'm right in the application
Okay.
received process. And keep in mind, everyone, this is just a template. This is right library. So of course we're going to edit that to what works best for you guys and your policies. But yeah, you can see some conditions here, like double checking if the property is already leased yet, making sure maybe it hasn't been updated and somebody applied. We've got some conditions just going there and kicking it over to waiting. But like you said, there's some incomplete, or if they haven't paid their application fee, those type of things, you can kind of set up your conditions here on the way that the tree is heading out.
Yeah, so for
Co-application.
example, you can utilize a custom field to say, do we have all of the information for this workflow? And if the answer is no, or the answer is I'm not sure, whatever the answer may be, then what it allows you to do is triggered off of that answer in your custom field, you can then set up what are called conditions. And so it has an opportunity to say, if any of the tasks in any of these conditions are true, then the condition is have all people complete an application. If the answer is no, then this particular task with this email is going to show and you can send that email off, or it can be auto sent off. So These
Correct.
types of opportunities where you're not having to stop, leave your process, write an email, send it off, try to wait for more information. You can just move on to your next thing, and you'll have this come back to you as soon as you're able to have those that next step come up in your process. So it gives the opportunity to, if the condition was not there, that task wouldn't show. So it wouldn't be
Mhm.
relevant to the process. So it allows you to kind of customize the process itself on a live basis based on the information that you're getting in your process.
Exactly. Yeah, this is a good, I've got like update the initial field. We're asking if all co-applicants have applied or if we've received the fee, if it's complete in general, if the application is complete. And based off those answers is where, just like you said, we can trigger this email to go out automatically. Or, if it's can't be automatic, maybe the whole meat of the email and you don't have to go digging around for your templates. It's right there. And then you can type what you need to type. I've done that a couple times, but I try to automate as much as we can, of course, as we're going. So
Yeah.
you can see we're going to double check that again as well if we still don't have them. But this only pops up co-applications, and fee only pops up if we had answered no to the previous one. So if we answered yes, it doesn't meet these conditions where um, this won't even show up and it drops into the following stage.
Yeah. And several years ago, I mean, I think I started using application scorecards back in 2015. So several years ago, we started seeing a rise in the use of kind of Excel spreadsheets that we were utilizing as scorecards, where you could have set criteria, you could score people based on that criteria, and that's what drove your approved, denied, or conditional approved decision. So you were taking the decision off of a person and you were setting a number value, and you're really making it either they're either approved, they're denied, or conditionally approved based on the numbers and based on the data you were receiving. You can do that same thing with those custom fields in LeadSimple. So you can
Mhm.
build those questions, and with those questions, it will trigger whether or not they are approved, denied, or conditionally approved for you. So you can still use that kind of logic of a scorecard. It just looks a little different and feels a little different, and is actually honestly a little bit easier for your team to be able to follow.
Exactly. And it shows them things that they need to see and it doesn't show them things they don't need to see based off their answers. For when you got that paper version, you're seeing it all and have to know which ones you don't need anymore because it didn't meet that condition.
Well, and then you're saving that as a separate document and putting it into a Google Drive or adding it into their portal and all of these different pieces where that's not required. I mean, there's a lot that you can do with automation, and we won't go down that rabbit hole, but you could take all of those answers out of LeadSimple, save it into a templated document, and automatically save that. You keep the record of everything that's been done. But it gives you that opportunity to have all of those conditions and that scoring metric built into your workflow, which is very, very cool. Uh, I think the other on the training side of things, I think it's important to note, you can have Loom videos infused for training. You can have snapshots and instructions, and you can kind of give more information. You have all the context of your applicant's information and the owner's information, the property information. Well, you can also add kind of that training information and kind of make this a full ecosystem for your employees to be
Oh
able to
yeah.
have what they need.
Yeah, in those instructions as we're talking, I'm sorry, I'm sharing my screen and not sharing my screen, but you're bringing up, let's just go on the send lease stage. Um, I'm on computer or run background check. Honestly, this is a great one. How do we do that? We say run background check, but where are you doing it at? So this is a great opportunity in your instructions to put the a Loom video on how to complete this successfully or before it even gets there for someone who can just at a glance be isn't sure maybe the software changed or something like that. And you can add your instructions in here and embed a video. Great call out there.
Yeah, and you can even, so in my application screening process for one of my clients, they wanted all of the details of what to look for to validate information. So when you're verifying identification, we have photos of what does a fake photo ID look like, and we have photos of what does a doctored pay stub look like, so that they have those details in that instruction to be able to get a rounded picture of, how do I watch out for fraud? How do I watch out for these kind of gotchas that we're seeing more and more of in the industry?
I love that. That's great. Well, we're gonna kind of keep moving. We've got some fun things, and let's talk really quick about yeah, we love Loom around here too. I actually love Loom just to answer my emails sometimes. I think I saw John here. He knows all about my Loom videos in the mornings. So yeah, I love all of those things. So let's dive in. Talk about our LeadSimple Wrapped. Mo, if you want to share, we've got our LeadSimple Wrapped that we've put together the last 2 years. It's gone. If you know anything about Spotify Wrapped, if you're in top so much percentage, I would fall on the Taylor Swift on the spot. I'm not on Spotify, but Mo, you want to share your screen? There we go. This is just an example when we talk about like our LeadSimple Wrapped. We send this out at the end of the year, and you can see what your company did inside of LeadSimple. So this is a property management company with 750 doors. So we're looking around there. How many processes were completed, how many new process types there were, so how many different process types, and how many completed tasks your team did. So this is just something really nice that you're able to see at a glance and see how helpful LeadSimple can be with your team that you're doing this. But kind of really fascinating. I really love this. Marketing team has been sending this out, and this is LeadSimple gets theirs too. So we get ours on our own too that we've done, and it's great. Kelly, I'm curious if
I
you've
want to
gotten any
see,
of these.
I want to see your LeadSimple one. That's what I want to see.
Oh, I'll have to dig it up. I think I found it one time. It was interesting though to see how many processes we did.
A lot of my clients
Fascinating.
are new and we're building out their LeadSimple for the first time. So I'll be interested and be watching for their wrapped at the end of the year. But
Yeah.
it's a really interesting way to kind of see, if you think about it, each of these are time savings. Each of these are things that streamlined your operations, that created more efficiency, that lowered your labor cost, because instead of somebody having to figure out how to do something, they had a really quick guideline, or if they got off track because they picked up a phone call or they had to answer an email or somebody walked into the office, they were able to context switch quickly and get back on task. So that's what this represents at the end of the year for you, is the efficiency and the time savings that your operations really obtained.
100%. Yeah, I love that. Sweet. Well, if you want to take an assessment with LeadSimple, we have a new free assessment tool. So I'm going to show a QR code here in just a second and see where your company ranks. So we have put together between 4 different areas of your business. We've got client experience, team experience, task management, and growth, your growth engine. So take this assessment. Takes about 3 minutes to do. So scan that QR code. I'll leave this up, but see where your business is at and get insight on this. Yeah, thank you, Miriam. She threw the link in there as well. So if you're not able to scan that right now, go ahead and click on that link and save that. Take that assessment. And if you're new to LeadSimple or not on LeadSimple operations yet, and you're thinking about it, we have another QR code for you as well. So if you want to scan this upcoming QR code to book a demo, you definitely can book that demo. All the things here. And again, Miriam, you're quick with those links. She's got them ready. So if you aren't able to scan that QR code, you can book a demo today and check out all of LeadSimple operations and what all comes with that and how it can help your business. Streamline, growth. And one more thing, where to find Kelly.
That's me. That's the website. Check me out. I'm pretty easy to get a hold of. You can also book a free consultation. We can show you some things in our LeadSimple account that we've built out before and give you an opportunity to kind of ask any questions. I can tell you kind of how this has worked in a lot of different people's organizations and what they like and what they are wanting from this kind of tool and this kind of operator in your business and what it does for your operations. So happy to help.
Awesome. And Q&A, guys. Let's go ahead and dive in. This has been amazing, and I'm so thankful that Kelli, you're here to share your insights on all of this. This is a solid process, especially this time of year, to get this set up for and running and streamlined. So if you have any questions, let's go ahead and throw your questions in the chat or in the Q&A box. Kind of lax around here. I won't be too stickler on where you put that question. But we'll stay for a couple of minutes and do some Q&A. If you have questions about anything and everything, or if you want to see the QR codes again, we can throw those back up there, get you those links.
Or if anyone has anything they want to share that they do in their application screening process that they think is beneficial for other people to hear about.
Oh, great question. You do something fun, different. Peter's had some good quotes here, so I'm sure he does something.
Peter always has good quotes.
Yeah. He did say earlier in that, and I'll call that out really quick, but put how you do it where you do it. So when we were talking about the Loom videos and the instructions, just it's really important to put how you do that, where you do it. So you don't have to go searching for how to do it. I thought that was very insightful. So we've got a question here for you, Kelli. I love Kelli's idea of automating everything that can be. Is there any general guide to deciding what should be automated and what shouldn't?
I'm a big proponent of automating everything that you can, except for things that give the warm fuzzies for your owners and residents in your organization. I don't know that there's a good guide that exists, but it's something that I talk about heavily as we're looking at automation, integration, AI, all those kind of buzzwords and how technology is infused to our businesses now. I would say emails that need to be modified in any way or are sensitive in nature, probably don't automate those ones. But emails that are just a quick trigger of asking for information, you can absolutely automate those in this process. You don't really want a communication to be held up on you if it doesn't have to be. The other things to automate, there's opportunities to automate triggering to different stages or for information to be zapped. If you're not familiar with Zapier is a bridge tool that allows you to have LeadSimple communicate with the other tools that you utilize. So I have seen some people that like at the end of their application process, they like to trigger actually sending out their lease for signature. That would be a great thing to automate. You can utilize like PandaDocs or DocuSign or one of those different signing tools, and you can have an integration set up that will automatically fire for that lease to be sent off for signature. But as far as, there's not a lot of automation in the application screening process. I'd say some of your onboarding processes and those types of things, there's a lot more opportunity. But yeah, great question. Something I'd be happy to talk more about at any time.
Yeah. And another one, I typed this answer, but we have a little bit of time. But Nancy asked, can the conditional logic for application screening split off for subsidy or non-subsidy tenants so they can make certain to capture additional requirements needed for subsidy tenants? So yes, Nancy, you absolutely can build that out. If it's a subsidy tenant, capturing that answer early on can make it go to a different stage if you have enough that you feel like it requires its own stage. And I'll say sometimes I do find that subsidy, even in renewals and things like that, do kind of require its own stage to kind of capture all of that information there. Make sure you're not moving forward without having all of that. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Kelli, do
especially
you have a good take on that?
like working with your housing authority and getting those additional documentation and things that you need. I would absolutely use conditional logic to branch into a different stage to be able to go through those different questions and those different document collections for those subsidy prospective residents. But yes, the way you build that out, I would have a trigger early on at the beginning of
Mhm.
when you're collecting all of your application materials. I would have a trigger early on asking whether or not is it a subsidy or not subsidy, and that would trigger kind of that first
Yeah.
branch of where that process goes.
Yeah. Yeah. Same here. I would do it as early as you can. You don't want to get right before you're sending out the lease and then you're asking that. Agreed. Sweet. Well, this has been absolutely amazing. And I can't thank you enough, Kelli, for
Time.
joining. I know. Look forward to seeing you in the future, of course. But thank you guys for attending and all the things. And if you have any questions, reach out to Kelli, schedule a demo with LeadSimple if you're not currently on. LeadSimple operations would love to hear